Hello, 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 and happy Friday. I am so excited for this conversation. Today, I have Liz Heichelbeck. She is a creativity coach, educator, author, and artist. Originally a professional contemporary and classical dancer, she earned her BFA in fine art studies from the University of Arizona and a master's in education from Lesley University. She holds Massachusetts teaching certifications in dance, theater, and English, and taught in the Weston Public School District for over 20 years. She was a creative collaborator in her role as an instructional coach for 5 years at Weston Middle School and was the facilitator for Weston Secondary New Teacher Mentor Program for 10 years. Liz was the former artistic director of Women's Improv Group in Boston. She has taught creative workshops at Tucson Medical Center, Rainbow Lifelong Learning, Weston Arts and Innovation Center, Waldron Center for the Performing Arts, Bloomington Council on Aging, and with Joy Point Solutions. She is a recent graduate of the Martha Beck Wayfinder Life Coaching Program and is a member of the Creativity Coaching Association. Liz's first novel, Chopin in Kentucky, was published by Blue Moose Books in 2023, and she is currently at work on the sequel, Lost and Found at the Canary Cafe. Her first adult coloring and creativity workbook, Start Where You Art, was published by Literary Kitchen in 2024. Liz believes in the restorative power of creative play in writing and in the fine and performing arts. She knows well how to help others access, respond, and transform their ideas, feelings, desires, and dreams using a blend of life coaching techniques, personal inquiry, and guided process oriented creative structures. Liz is on a mission to inspire others and help them align with their most essential selves. Liz, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Thank you so much, Francine. I'm so happy to be here.
So, so you've done one or two things in your life, huh? Just a couple, nothing big, right?
Well, I like to frame it as wildly improbable achievements.
I love that. So, share with the listeners like your journey because it's a pretty big journey. So, I'd love for you to just share how you got to, where you were, maybe, I always love to say, often when we're graduating high school, we don't think, "Oh, this is where I want to be at this point in my life." And you had the creativity piece, so I'm sure that plays a big part for you. But just share your journey to where you were to how you got where you are today.
Well, I'm really lucky, and I've always felt that I'm really lucky. I grew up in a large family. We had complete freedom. It was utter chaos, in a wonderful way. And my mom was such a creative person, and we always had art supplies and sewing supplies around the house. She was always making something. And my dad was more into classical music and poetry and literature. So I kind of grew up surrounded with the language of the soul or the language of, self-expression, which influenced my understanding of creativity. Um, and I went off to become a ballet dancer, despite not being particularly talented or having what they call a ballet body. And I worked really, really hard at it for many, many years and became very, very mediocre. And uh, I danced professionally for a few years before it finally dawned on me that ballet as a dancer is not a particularly creative career. It can be expressive at times, If you're a choreographer, it's
I was gonna say it's someone else's creativity,
it's
right?
someone else's creativity, it's someone
Right,
else's music, and it's someone else saying, now move here on this count and do this. No, not like that. Do it the same as everybody else.
right.
And
It's
so,
almost like the antithesis of creativity.
well, I mean, okay, if you're talented enough to be a soloist,
Hmm.
then you get to interpret roles and you get to
Okay.
interpret choreography. But for me, I was kind of just basically scenery on
Right,
stage.
right.
And my job was to look like everybody else and move like everybody else. And so I had quite a survey of what creativity is and isn't for
Hmm.
me by the time I was, in my middle 20s. And so I thought, okay, well, I know what creativity isn't. And I know what my parents thought creativity was, or what do I think it is?
Right.
And so I started just exploring. And I took improvisational dance and I took dance trapeze and I that led to, I took comedy improv and I just started playing just as an exploration of, okay, what is creativity and what does it have that stays constant in different disciplines, in different domains? That's what I was
Hmm.
really interested in, is
I
what
love
about the
that.
creative process is so appealing, and it doesn't matter what domain you're working in. And so um, I just had a grand old time.
I
I
love that.
acted and I wrote and I did performance art and I just if it was new and interesting to me, I explored it. And so I've kind of come to decide for myself that for me, creativity is not something I do, and it's not something I have, it's something I am.
Hmm. I love that.
Yeah, and it's an energy that I serve. It's kind of like my spirituality. And so I love to play with the language of the soul, whether that's creative writing, whether that's working with visual images, whether that's working with comedy improv and all of the amazing openness that that helps us to experience. And I just believe in the benefits that the process has. So when people ask me, "Oh, well, what is your definition of creativity?" I'm like, "Well, it changes. But
Yeah.
what do you think it is? Because whatever you think it is,
I'm curious, what makes it change for you? Is it just that your own exploration, or does something actually happen that
I think because it's a relationship
hmm,
for me, it's constantly evolving. And so, in my maybe early 30s, I was really interested in the mental processes involved in the creative process. And now that I'm in my late 50s, I'm more interested in the benefits that it has for us and how does it help us emotionally? How does it help us intuitively?
I
Even
love that.
spiritually. Yeah.
You know, it makes me chuckle a little bit that when I look at the guests that I've had over the 3 seasons of F and Fridays, I've had a lot of
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you, thank you. I've had a lot of creative people. And
Mm,
for a really long time, my story was I'm not creative.
mm,
And that's because I can't, for those of you listening, you can't see the beautiful artwork that Liz has behind her, but like I can't do that, right? So to me, that was creativity.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And what I have learned to do over the last few years as I've explored this a little bit more is really redefine creativity a little bit.
mm-hmm,
Because, number one, I'm a hairdresser. I love makeup, right? Although I don't wear it as much anymore because I get way too many eye infections, but I love makeup. That right there is creativity. And
yes, it
to
is.
me, like, I just brush that off,
Mm, mm-hmm,
right? I used to lead teams. That was creativity.
Yes,
right? Like, so I've learned to adapt because maybe what I do, you can't do,
that's right.
right? And I
That's
can't do what you do. So I've actually learned how to shift that, and it's still my own exploration.
mhm.
I realized, knowing my human design as a manifesting generator, I am a responder. So I don't do well with blank canvases. And an artist friend of mine and I had this conversation once, and I was like, oh, but if you say to me, do you want gray or green? You know, if somebody says to me, what color do you want to paint your house? I don't know. But if they
Mhm.
say, do you want to paint it gray or green? I go, oh, gray. Light gray or dark gray? Oh, light gray.
Yeah, see, this is where it gets really, really interesting because I do think that creativity is a response.
Ooh, interesting.
It
Okay.
is not performative. So a lot of us, because of the culture that we're, used to, we see a painting and we think, "Oh, I'm not creative because I can't perform that skill."
Mm,
And what I love about creativity is that it's actually an invitation to reconsider that. It's about how you respond to
right,
anything in your life. Are you able to reframe it? Are you able to try something new? Or do you only ever rely on your, more habituated left brain kind of patterns that you're
right,
used to?
right.
So it really kind of levels the playing field when you realize that artistic skill is not the same as being creative.
I love that differentiate. I don't know that I even, until you just said it, I was like, oh, big light bulb moment, right? Like I don't
Mm,
think I ever made that separation
mm.
between it. Um, so thank you. I love
You're
that.
welcome.
Yeah, yeah.
And to your point, the wonderful thing about I do a lot of process art and coaching and a lot of basically it's an improvisational process,
Mm,
but it is a set of parameters that help you navigate a blank canvas so that
mm,
it's not a blank canvas. There's actually, I'm sure you've heard of the rules of comedy improv, which is be present, listen, say yes, and,
right,
all of those things. That stays constant no matter what kind of creativity you're playing with. It works
right.
beautifully for creative improv or for comedy improv. It also works great for life. And
Yeah,
it also works great on a canvas or if you're working on a play or, whatever it is that you are, whatever your practice of creativity is, those rules are really, really helpful. And they're like little guardrails that keep you from, veering off the
right.
cliff into the blank canvas thinking, I don't want anything to do with this. It's too overwhelming to try and make something happen. Well,
I
there's
love
there's
that.
ways and patterns that you can use to employ to help make things happen.
Yeah. I
And being
know
offered
you.
a choice of two colors is one way to do that.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like I know you created an adult coloring book, and I got into coloring a couple of years ago. It's interesting, the universe always gives you what you ask for. I had been thinking about maybe that's something I could do, and then I was at a Christmas Yankee swap, and the gift I got was coloring book and pencils, and I was like, "Well played, universe. Okay, I guess I'll do this, right?"
Yeah.
So, and over the years, I've gotten more pencils and more coloring books. And a couple of years ago, when I was recovering from, I was going to say one of my surgeries, my hip replacement, I really did a lot of coloring,
Mm,
like I was doing nothing but sitting. And then I wasn't doing it as much. But this week, or this last week, maybe, I don't know. We're recording right before the holidays. So like all the days are blurring into each other. But I pulled the book out again. And it really is interesting to me how I choose colors in whatever design I'm doing, right? So I'm like, okay, you can do this. Like, yeah, I can't do the lines. Like, I'm never going to be able to, I don't have the skill set to do fine lines, but I can color in the lines,
And
right?
and t tell me more about how you choose color.
That's just it. It's like, it's what it feels like. I'm like, okay, what colors do I want on, in these flowers, right? Oh, I like purple and the stems are going to be green and I'm going to use two different shades of green and maybe three different shades of purple. And it's really interesting to me. So, like, that helps me shift my narrative around I'm not creative.
Hmm.
right? Even though I can't draw the lines, uh, I can color in the lines and I can choose the colors.
Do you ever get the sense that sometimes the colors choose you?
Oh, love that question, Liz. Yeah, right? Maybe. And that probably is even more true than I'm aware of, but I will pay attention to that next time. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because now I have like a ton of pencils, right? Like I have a whole big case now that holds them all. And so I'm like, oh, let's go to the orange. And there's 20 oranges. So which shade do I want?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it is. It's like, oh, pick this one. Okay. And what will go with that? So I love that. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll have a client close their eyes,
Mm.
let the color choose them without even knowing.
I'm curious when that happens. How open are they to the color that gets chosen, or is there some resistance in, oh, it shouldn't be this color?
Well, that's where the good stuff is,
Yeah.
right? Our friend resistance shows up.
Right,
Say,
right,
so what are you made of?
right. Well, I can see that be right, like with somebody who's a very left brain
Mhm,
logical person and like has the stems need to be green and I
mhm,
picked pink. How can I possibly paint this in pink? So
mhm.
that's a beautiful way of like overcoming that level of resistance in what should be, right?
And even maybe not overcoming per se, but just it's a great
Allowing it. Yeah.
opportunity to have a dialogue.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
is this resistance coming from? What is it telling me? What is it trying to protect me from?
So let's talk a little bit about creativity coaching, right?
Okay.
So what exactly is creativity coaching?
Well, it depends on what people want out of it.
Mm,
I have some clients who really just want the safe container and the space to play with art materials. And so we can do that. I have some people who don't identify as being artistic at all, but they're stuck. They have a life theme that they're working on, and we might employ creative methods to find a different way in to explore that stuckness and figure out, okay, well, what could I shift? What insight can I allow to come up from my intuition that's going to help me reframe this stuckness? Um, and then I also work with creatives. I actually have several creatives who, like all of us, still benefit from how to initiate and engage and maintain a creative practice
mm, I love
because
that.
it makes them feel good.
Right.
And yet it's hard for us to show up for that consistently. Even creatives, we have a committee in our head that says, you really haven't polished the cheese grater in quite a while.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
How do you blend coaching techniques with creative work?
Well, sometimes it's just dialogue, role
Okay.
play, metaphorical tools. Um, Sometimes it's something as simple as doing some abstract drawing, because we have so many options available to us for left brain modalities of self-development.
Sure.
But sometimes doing something as simple as drawing some lines on a piece of paper will give you a totally different doorway in than what you're used to with your left brain. So it's not art therapy, but it's a little bit art therapy adjacent.
What talk a little bit about what is the difference between art therapy and creative coaching?
Oh, that's a great question. So, art therapy is this amazing field of helping patients to explore self-expression and material, often challenging material that comes up. And there's a certain amount of interpretation that can sometimes happen between the therapist and the client.
Oh God.
And it's a whole journey that they go on. And one of the benefits is that it's visual and not verbal, which gets us, helps us access
Yeah,
a whole different level of our psyche. Um, Therapy, of course, is meant to work with pathology, to heal
sure.
pathology in ways that maybe talk therapy doesn't get at. Using it for coaching is more about working with it. We do sometimes work with material that comes up from the psyche, but it's not meant to pathologize. It doesn't diagnose.
Right.
And it's more about working with potential rather than pathology,
Okay.
if that
I love,
makes
yeah, no, I love that.
sense.
I'm curious, is the only medium that you use in your creativity coaching art, or do you use other mediums as well?
I use
Movement,
other
dance?
mediums
You
as well.
do. Okay,
Yeah.
based on what the,
Mhm,
so how do you, is it the client that decides which
mhm.
medium they want to use? Okay.
And and it's a little bit easier when I have people who come to me. I have an art studio here where I live,
Okay.
Metro West Boston, and I've got every possible art supply you could ever possibly want to explore. But I also have room to move. We can do we can draw from improv. There's a wonderful subset of life coaches who are using comedy improv tools, which is just a really wonderful way to explore and play and open up to your intuition. So sometimes people want to write haiku. Sometimes it's whatever the client is comfortable exploring. And
I love,
sometimes it's just talking, and
yeah.
that's.
How do movement and improvisation shape the way that you teach creativity?
Well, it's embodied. It's an
Mm,
embodied way. And creativity doesn't just live in our left brain hemisphere. It obviously everything we do relies on both brain hemispheres.
sure.
We don't want to overgeneralize and oversimplify, but there is still a lot of support for these different hemispheres having different purposes and different pathways that they
Mm.
use for us. So creativity relies more heavily on the right side of the brain. And our culture is very left brain dominant. So right brain, it's where our intuition lives. Often our intuition is embodied, especially for women. And there's a somatic piece to that. So movement, laughter, stretching, tapping, as you know,
Yeah.
shaking, all these things can be extremely helpful because we can talk and talk and talk. And for some people, that's enough. But for other people, there's a little piece that's missing, and that's the full integration of what comes up in the talk
Right.
in your life, in your body, in your creative practice. And that's where um, using embodied techniques, and I count drawing as an embodied technique because you're moving your hand,
Ah,
you're
okay.
moving
Because I
your
was gonna
body.
say, like, what exactly is embodied creativity, right? And
Uh,
how do you describe that? And but I love that, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
using that. Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
you can hear the sound of the writing or drawing instrument against the
Yeah.
paper. Sometimes there's a smell associated with it. Sometimes you get into a rhythm. So there's various sensory cues
Hmm.
that make the experience feel more vivid.
Interesting. I remember the first time I went to one of those paint nights, right? Like you go to the bar, like they do the paint,
Mhm,
paint nights.
mhm.
And we just were painting the board. And I remember how calming that was, just
Oh,
putting paint. Like
yes.
because I wasn't having to do anything detailed. Like
Right.
I don't like doing it detailed
Mhm,
and it's not my skill set. I'm not good at it. But just taking and painting the whole canvas,
mhm.
that was so relaxing. And I was
Yes.
like, I could just do this for the 2 hours.
Yes. Okay. So there's a wonderful new branch of study called neuroaesthetics.
Yes, I
Mhm.
wanted to talk to you about that. So yeah,
Yes.
tell people what that is.
So this amazing book that came out, I believe last year, is called Your Brain on Art. And it is about the measurable um, benefits to engaging with art, whether you're just looking at it or hearing it, or whether you're doing it. And all these biomarkers for stress improve.
Mm.
Other markers for, enhanced mood, being present in your body, all of these things, measures, are, it's astonishing what
Wow.
it can do. So, yeah, the field of neuroaesthetics tells us that whether you're engaging with art in any way, you're going to have an improved sense of your present.
I love that.
And so when you use creative techniques or artistic techniques in coaching, it works on multiple levels at the same time. And one of those levels is exactly what you're describing, is that you're going to get into a state of flow.
Mm.
And so when you get into a state of flow, your nervous system is automatically more regulated, your muscles feel more relaxed, your breathing starts to like slow. So it works as a calming technique. And some of what I do is I teach people various calming techniques that they can use through art,
Right.
that they can use as a meditation whenever they want.
I love that. I know
So,
everyone thinks that meditation is, sitting quietly, listening to a guided or silence or music. And there's so many other ways that we can meditate because
yeah,
meditation is really just about the act of being present,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah.
bringing, so many of my clients will say, I can't meditate. I can't quiet my brain. And my response is usually, if your brain is quiet, you're dead, right? So, like, it isn't about shutting the noise, it's about being aware, going, oh, there's a thought. Thank you. Let's put that over here right now. And then bringing yourself back to your breath or to whatever it is. So I
And
love like art doing that, right? Like just
yeah,
that act of being present because when you're creating, you have to be present in what you're doing.
although I will say in coaching, we're interested in that thought.
Yeah,
What what
absolutely.
is that
Right.
thought telling you about the art that you're making? And
Interesting.
what
Yeah.
and what are you making that mean? I mean, we're all full of limiting beliefs
Right.
that we're working to reframe.
Yeah.
And so this is one very convenient vehicle for doing that.
Right.
And it's very different than, let's say you're showing up to the paint and sip night, which I'm sure is very fun. I've never done it, but I know a
Yeah.
lot of people have really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
For me, what I offer is a little bit different because if you want your painting to end up looking like somebody else's painting, now we're a little bit back in the land of the left hemisphere where,
Mm,
oh, I have to perform well if I want to call myself creative. So I would
interesting.
be more interested in having a paint night where people get the calming effects of
Of
painting it.
whatever.
But
What's
everybody
really
goes home with a different painting.
what's really interesting about the paint and sips is that, you see the people around you, everybody's looks different because their
Mm,
vision of what they're being told to do, like
mm,
I add a little bit more blue, you add a little bit more orange, right? Like
mhm,
it's the same thing. We all get the same step by step, if you will, but
mhm.
the outcome ends up being very different.
And in your experience, are people able to interpret the difference in their painting without judging it?
That's interesting. That I can't answer.
Yeah.
But there are some people that they're just taking that creativity and they're making it their own. Like
Mm,
they're owning it and they're like, "Yep, thank you for telling me what to do. I'm gonna make it my own."
yes, the
Right?
inner
Yeah.
rebel.
Yeah, there's definitely you can tell those that
Uh-huh.
have done it once or twice. I did a vision board. I run vision board workshops. It's been a
Cool.
while, but I did one a couple of years ago at a retreat. And like vision boards, here are the magazines. You cut out the pictures, you put them on the piece of paper, and you
Mhm,
manifest the thing. One
mhm.
woman took the magazine pictures and ripped them,
Uh-huh.
and then just put the ripped pieces on the board. So
Uh-huh.
it looked like nothing but art, right? Because it wasn't like the dining room set, the house, the car, right? Like everyone else had the things. And
Uh-huh.
I was always fascinated. She came 2 years in a row, and I remember the first year watching it, and then the second year I was like, this is her expression because the thing is still there, right? The car is still there. It's just she has now created this piece of art to look different than everyone else's, where everyone else just put the car on their board. Hers is like these ripped sheets, and she did it, whether she did it by color or shape or whatever. And that always just fascinated me. I was like, that is taking it and
Wow.
making it your own, right?
Yes, and that's also such an amazing strategy because it sounds to me like she was using a little bit of chance methods in
Okay.
a vision board. And so chance methods are a way to trick our left brain and our ego into staying calm and staying out of the way so that we can be creative without our inner art jerk or the art police showing up.
I love that. I love that. So you've mentioned the word soul a few times, and I'm curious, how does art and soul intersect in your life?
Hmm.
And you talked about like it is who we are at our soul, and I love that. So I'm
Hmm.
curious, how does that show up for you?
Well, that is such a good question. When I am working with clients, I like to see what their definition of soul is because I
Mm,
like to be able to meet people where they are. And some people are way more comfortable with the woo factor than others. But
sure.
I feel like a working definition, which is borrowed from Carl Jung, is that your soul is the entire contents of your inner world.
I love that.
So whether you believe that this lifetime is it, or whether you believe in all kinds of other possibilities beyond the veil, we can still acknowledge that we have a whole interior world and its memories, its thoughts, its beliefs, its feelings, its imaginings, its desires. And in that way, I suppose it's really closer to psyche.
Sure. Yeah.
I personally, because for me, creativity has become a spiritual practice. I really love a um, a practice of creativity written about originally by Meister Eckhart in somewhere around 1200, I think, but then written again by a theologian named Matthew Fox. And that is a fourfold path of creativity. It's the via positiva, which is what you want to say yes to and amplify in your life. It's the via negativa, which is what will you need to release in your quest for the via positiva? What will you have to let go of? What will you have to surrender?
Mm,
The via creativa is how you work with, how you respond. You mentioned that you are a manifesting generator. So, how
right.
you respond to your life circumstances. And then finally, we have the via transformativa, which is how do you integrate what you've gleaned from your creative practice into your life? How do you I integrate the insights that have come up for you? So I just think that that view of spirituality and creativity is so workable.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your books.
Oh,
So
okay.
tell us about the book that you've already published and the one that you're working on now,
Okay.
and what
So
inspired the stories.
Chopin in Kentucky is a novel. I originally thought it was going to be a memoir. And then Chopin, the 19th century composer of tragic piano music, showed up. And then the first child female Elvis impersonator showed up. And I realized, oh, I am not in charge of this story
I
anymore.
love that.
And other characters showed up who were not, not people that I knew in my growing up. And so what I loved about it was I discovered that writing a novel allowed me to more fully and honestly explore the themes that I wanted to play with better than writing, a memoir that was all more or less factual as I remembered
Right.
it. And so I just had so much fun. It took me forever to finish the thing. And um and I experienced a lot of healing in the writing of that book. And I had no idea if anybody would ever publish it. And so I went on a little journey. At first, I tried to find an agent, and then I started querying, publishers, And then I realized, oh, there's this whole tier, the smaller tier of literary publishers. And so I started querying them, and lo and behold, somebody wanted to publish it. So now it's out in the UK, and the German version just came out earlier
Oh,
this
wow.
year. And I'm really hoping it gets picked up in the US. I would really, really love that.
Nice.
Um, and
So
then
where can people purchase it if they want?
you can
Can
get it on Amazon.
Amazon,
You
okay.
can order it directly from Blue Moose Books.
Okay.
It only takes about 5 days to get here from the
Okay.
UK, and the shipping is reasonable. Or you can order it from me and my website. You can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it'll
It's
be in the show notes.
creativeinsights.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when can readers expect the sequel? And
Well, I'm about 3/4 of the way through
okay.
a rough first draft. So I don't know. It's funny, Francine. I always say, I think I can have it done in about a year, but I keep saying that
Right.
as time goes by. So, um,
I'm curious, is there something in the creative process that stops you from finishing? Because I know sometimes people I've had a conversation with somebody that they don't finish projects because then they can be judged for them, right? So like,
mm,
is there something in your process that stops the ending? And I don't know if it's just in writing or if you do that in other parts of your art.
that's a really interesting question. I definitely have thousands more ideas than I could possibly render in a
Don't
lifetime.
we all, right? Yep.
But I will say that for me, when I am writing, like when I was writing the copy for my coloring book, because the coloring book is a set of hand-drawn mandalas, and there's a story that goes with each mandala about
Okay.
what I was doing when I drew it and what I learned from drawing it and that sort of thing. That writing is easy and delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Writing fiction
Yeah.
is really, really hard. I mean, that for me is a creative practice, and it's slow. It's
Sure.
slow going. Um, and the first book that I wrote had two main characters and a third secondary character. This book that I'm working on now has four main characters. I don't know whose stupid idea that was, but it's really complicated.
Right.
It's
Because they all have to
hard.
have backstories and yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And so, boy, talk about showing up at the page not knowing. I mean, it is such an exercise in beginner's mind and not knowing. And every single time I finish a chapter, I have this feeling of like, oh my God, I did it. I wrote another chapter, as if I can never be certain I can do it again.
Right.
So it's the most challenging of all the creative pursuits that I engage in is the
Hmm.
writing of fiction.
I love that.
And
And you still
therefore,
do it and you
and I
continue
still
to do
do
it.
it because
Yeah.
I think it's a growth edge for me,
Right.
you
Right. I
know?
love that.
But yeah, it's slow going, and I don't get to do it every day. I've got a lot going on, and I always want to be making more progress than I'm making, but I don't know many writers who don't feel that way. And if there
Right.
are, uh, I'm of two minds about whether or not I want to talk to them.
I love that. For someone who maybe feels disconnected from their creativity, where would you suggest that they start? Or what's, something simple they can do to just start to explore their creativity?
Well, there's so many books out there. My coloring book that I wrote is specifically for that person
Mm,
because so each you have like 20 mandalas that I've hand drawn, which are not perfect because I drew them by hand.
I love that.
And then after that, there's a related creative invitation that is a really scaffolded way for you to start making your own marks.
Okay.
So for people who like to color and think, oh, well, I only want to color in things that other people have drawn. Well, you could have a little bit of a growth edge that you could lean into if you wanted to. And I try to make that really easy and fun. Um, but I think most creative coaches that I know offer a free discovery call.
Okay.
I do.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect place to start, is just through conversation of like, well, I don't know. I just know that I want to be more creative. Well, a coach is going to be skilled about asking you powerful questions to evoke awareness about what you might want to try.
I was just going to ask, how would somebody know that they need a creativity coach or that that is the right type of coach for them to reach? Is it that they have this desire to be more creative?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Not always.
Yeah, because
Um,
I was going to say, I would imagine that comes out secondary, right?
mhm. I have clients who reached out to me because they want to do something about their perfectionism,
Hmm.
and they're working for the perfect way to play.
I was like, that's great because, creativity isn't perfect, right?
No,
Like
it's not.
what one person thinks is art, someone else may think, oh, that's just like a bunch of squiggly lines, right? So I love that, right? Like really going back to the conversation about choosing, closing your eyes and choosing a color.
Mhm.
Right? Like, okay, now this isn't going to be perfect because my stems are going to be pink and not green, and having
Right,
to sit with that discomfort
right.
of that. I love that.
And a lot of the drawing that I do with clients is not representational unless that's what they want to do.
Sure. Yeah.
But it can still provide a language that has meaning for them. And sometimes if they start feeling like cramped and uptight, I'm like, just use your non-dominant hand.
I love that. Years ago, I did a technique where journaling, you
Mhm.
write the question with your dominant hand and your answer with your non-dominant hand.
Mm,
And it was
mhm.
always fascinating what came up because your brain is so focused on holding the writing implement that like you'd look and you'd be like, huh, I did not know that that was in there.
I am totally gonna try that.
Yeah, it's real. That was a really interesting practice. I don't do it often anymore, but I remember like doing that and being like, wow, I did not know that's what was going to come up. But like my brain was so focused on like holding the writing implement that I wasn't in thought. It was just free flowing. Yeah.
I love that because I think, sometimes people that I work with, they're bored.
Right.
They're just feeling like life is kind of gray and like, is it really? Is this all there is? And so they want to be surprised. And
Hmm.
sometimes I think that's what creativity coaching really is. It's the art of surprise.
I love that.
How do we surprise ourselves with knowings we didn't know we had?
I'm curious, what are some signs that creativity might be missing in somebody's healing or the missing link in their healing process?
Oh, that is such an intelligent question. There's a certain deliciousness
Hmm.
in creative coaching. There's a certain enjoyment, there's a sensuality to it, there's an embodiment to it. Um, One of my clients recently said, oh, I've been working on this life theme for a long time and I still felt stuck. And by incorporating this abstract drawing method that I use, um, we went around to a different door that wasn't locked, and I didn't know that door was there.
I
So
love that.
if you're feeling like, okay, I've been doing the therapy, I've been reading the self-help books, and I still feel stuck in this certain area of my life, or I still feel like something's missing. I love Nick Wilton. He's a wonderful artist and art coach. And he says, art gives us something to go crazy over so we don't go crazy.
Mm.
Hmm.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh gosh, I could talk to you forever, but I love to always ask this question. What is one thing that you live by that you want to share with the listeners?
Oh, one thing that I live by. Um, there's something in comedy improv called finding the game.
Hmm.
Finding the game is you're creating a scene with other players and you have no idea where the scene is going, but you just keep showing up and just keep saying the next thing. And then at some point, one or all of you recognizes that there's a pattern. And then you can capitalize on the pattern and it gets funnier and funnier and funnier.
I
So
love
I'll give
that.
you an example. I was in a scene with another person, and her character was complimenting my character, and my character started getting really, really upset and interpreting every compliment as an insult and got really, really mad. I can't believe you said that to me. Well, that's finding the game. And
Okay.
so I love living by finding the game.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that could be finding the game.
Yeah.
I love when sometimes the title of the podcast comes out of the conversation. So I love that. Finding
Yeah,
the
that's
game.
fun. That's fun.
Beautiful. I know
Yeah.
you have an offer for the client, for the listeners. Do you want to share what that is? I know you have classes and coaching and resources and everything is on there. And then you also have you want to talk about the happy hour?
Yeah, so I have classes, I have coaching, I have artwork and books. Someday soon I will have some creativity oracle cards and some e-courses. I'm working on that, but right now I am loving this coming together in conscious creative community. I call it Art Instead Happy Hour. It's first Fridays at 5:30 Eastern Time, and it's just a group of lovely humans who get together and do abstract drawing. You respond to a prompt, or you don't have to respond to the prompt if you just want to draw your own thing, but the prompts are always very accessible. Like if basically if you can hold a pencil, you can do the activity. And then sometimes we talk about what comes up for people while they're drawing or coloring, and there's always laughter. And it's just an hour of coming together in curiosity and creativity and kindness.
I love that. And you want to share where people can find you, your way. This will all be in the show notes, but
Yeah,
for
yeah.
those listening, you want to just share your website?
Absolutely. My website is creativeinsights.com, but insights is spelled INCITES. And the reason for that is that I'm all about inviting those insights to come and inspiring people to become engaged with their creativity. So,
I
uh,
love that.
yeah, creativeinsights.com, and you can find all of my stuff there. There's a page there called Join, and that's where you can sign up for Art Instead, and you'll get the link.
Perfect. And I want to share with all the listeners that I have a new program that I rolled out this year. And if you're ready to stop spinning and really move forward with clarity and confidence, you can check out my new program, The Stuck Stops Here. It's my
Mm,
5 session experience to help you begin to get out of your own way and really get into aligned action.
mm,
And the link will be in the show notes, and you can use code PODCAST to receive 20% off of the program. So,
lovely.
oh my gosh, Liz, this has been such a juicy conversation. As I do with all of my conversations, we're going to end with our card pull. And today, I didn't even notice this. I pulled the soul coaching deck.
Oh,
So we've
cool.
talked about soul and coaching. So that is the deck that I pulled today, and I have 3 cards in front of me. So I have left, center, and right. And I'm going to invite Liz and everyone else, not if you're driving, to just close your eyes for a moment, take a nice deep breath, and choose the card. And maybe if you have a question that you're looking for an answer for, to ask the question and then just tell me which card.
Hmm. Okay. Do I say, and I say my question
Yes,
out loud?
yes, yep.
Okay.
You don't
What
have to
should
say
I?
your question. You can,
Oh,
that's for you, but just tell me which
okay.
card.
Left, please.
Left. All
Yes.
right. Essence.
Ooh,
So, I mean, that is beautiful.
it is.
And what it feels like is that what we're talking about, right? Like everything in art is the essence of the person creating the art,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
love that. And for those that chose center, love.
Hmm.
Right? So the song, is it a Beatles song? All You Need Is Love is the
Yeah.
song that's playing in my brain right now, right? So if your question was, what do I need to know? The only thing you need to know is love. And if you chose right, miracles, right? And sometimes we think the smallest of things can be the miracles, right? Miracles aren't necessarily, the parting of the sea and all the things, right? But it can be, to me, sometimes the biggest miracle is finding a parking spot, right? When I'm going somewhere, right? So looking for the miracles in the everyday.
I love that.
So, Liz, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been such a fun, juicy conversation. Thank
Samesies.
you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Francine.
And
Have a
to
great
all of you listening, have an amazing Friday.